Hi, and we've got Kousar here.
Hi there.
Where are you from?
I'm from Taranga,
Okay,
recently based in Papamoa as well.
all right.
Yeah.
And previously?
Previously, I lived in South Africa.
All right.
I was born and raised in South Africa,
Mm.
and I recently relocated to New Zealand. And yeah, my journey has been anything but linear.
I know everybody's going to ask where in South Africa?
Durban,
Durban.
KZN,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
So yeah, but now
But
we
you're not a Zulu, eh?
no.
Okay.
Do I look
I'm
like a
gonna
Zulu?
get
Yeah.
that right.
But I know Zulu. Yeah.
Can you speak Zulu?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So a bit of
It's important to be able to speak the language, in, especially in the province where you are and so forth.
Exactly, exactly. And,
Yeah.
it's really important to, integrate with other cultures as well. So,
So what brought you to New Zealand?
so I think the main thing that brought us to New Zealand was, my family experienced like a targeted shooting.
Okay.
And that's when life really shifted.
And that's when somebody doesn't like your family.
Really now.
Yeah, okay.
Is it just me? Is it just
Yeah.
my family?
It happens so
It does.
often down there. That's the problem now.
It does, yeah. But I
Was
think,
anybody hurt or not?
yeah, so my dad actually, he got shot.
Okay.
It was a miracle that he survived because there were about almost 10 bullets in the car.
Gee whiz.
Yeah.
So it was while he was driving?
Yeah, it was while he was driving.
Okay. What work will your dad do?
So he's an engineer,
Mhm.
and it was very, political, very company based.
Okay.
You can also throw race in there as well,
Mhm.
but that's when.
But he's not white?
He's not.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
but
But I just had to clear that
yes,
up. So-
yes.
Right.
But I mean, I'm sure you also know the South African racial system at the moment.
Yep.
So yeah, and I think it was just mainly based on money, and what people want for
Okay.
themselves. So yeah, but we're here now. We're building a new life, and
So dad is here as well?
yes,
Mom here as well?
as well.
Other kids?
My brother is here,
All right.
and my partner's here as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you got kids or not?
No.
Not. All right.
I mean, I get mistaken for a 12-year-old, but it's all good. It's all good.
So what do you do in New Zealand?
So I am a youth facilitator,
Okay.
youth coordinator. I'm a mental health support worker,
Mm.
and yeah, I'm just trying to
But
position myself.
you told me that you studied a bit.
Yes, I did. I studied
Okay.
quite a bit actually.
Mm.
So just to take you back, in South Africa, at 17 years old, I wanted to do medicine, but I got rejected based on the quota system,
Okay.
and I had to kind of redirect my life, and I made the bold move to Zambia,
All right.
and I did a medical graduate degree there.
Okay. So they've got a university that you can study medicine in
Yeah,
Zambia.
quite a few actually.
Okay.
Yeah, and
I don't know a lot about Zambia, to be quite
yeah,
frank.
they have quite a few. There's private ones. There's also government universities.
Okay.
And they actually are calling, other, students from other countries.
And how long were you in Zambia?
I was there for about 4 years.
All right.
Yeah. And then obviously COVID happened.
Mm.
And that obviously changed life dramatically for everyone.
So where were you in COVID struck? In South Africa or
Jeez,
Zambia?
I was actually in the process of leaving Zambia because I was coming
Okay.
for semester break. And, we got word that we got to use masks and gloves and, all that. And it was so overwhelming,
Yeah.
while traveling. But then I'd headed back, and then that's when lockdown in South Africa hit. And
Oh, okay. You were stuck there.
stuck, yeah. Just like the rest of the world, we don't know what's going on, what's going to happen. There was so much uncertainty.
Yeah.
But then I lost my grandmother to COVID. This was
Okay.
quite.
Sorry to hear about that.
Thank you. It really reshaped me as a person.
Yep.
It was a great loss, truly, and that's when I just decided to actually relocate back to South Africa, and I.
So now you had enough of Zambia.
I miss it though. But
Okay,
if you
okay.
look at Zambia and South Africa, it's a big difference.
Okay.
They're quite years behind South Africa.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but I miss the friends. Yeah, but I then decided to pursue something different, and that's when I stumbled upon psychology.
Okay.
Yeah,
So what did you study in Zambia?
I did a graduate medical degree, so it was
Okay,
like a health professions foundation program.
And then the psychology part, where does that come in?
So that came in when I applied for countless jobs, right?
Alright.
And I didn't get any of them. I mean, I even applied to McDonald's, didn't get in.
Okay.
And then I began working with, individuals, students specifically, who had learning barriers and learning challenges. And that's when I realized, psychology is it for me. That sparked my passion
Okay.
for it.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And you studied psychology?
Yeah, so I did my undergraduate there.
In South Africa?
Yes, in South Africa. And while pursuing my undergraduate degree, I noticed that mainstream schools in South Africa didn't cater for individuals who had learning barriers, like ADHD, dyscalculia, dyslexia.
It's a problem, eh?
It is. And South Africa's education system, large classroom sizes, the lack
of... No individual attention at all, though.
Yeah, exactly. And that's when I was like, you know what, I want to build something different for every child, tailored to their learning style. And that's when I founded a homeschool and specialized tuition hub.
All right.
And yeah, it's still going strong till today. And we helped countless of students, and I think for me it was the fact that when a child comes to you and says, you know what, I'm going to fail, I've been told that I'm not smart, I want to drop out. And that's when I came in and I'm
all
like,
right. And when did the whole decision come to decide to move to New Zealand? Who was the instigator? We call it the instigator down there.
I think it was my dad, because he's a workaholic, and because he couldn't go back to work, because justice wasn't restored with his experience.
Yeah.
And that's when we said, we need safety, we need long-term stability, and that's when we made the move.
And the problem getting justice restored in South Africa is it's not something that really happens a lot.
Yeah.
And I mean, I would also probably think about leaving if my company, where I work for, ends up and I getting shot in the whole process. So, yeah.
Definitely. We even had personalized number plates and we had to get rid of those. So, yeah.
So you arrive in New Zealand?
Yes, and it's beautiful.
And you like it here?
We're loving it.
Okay. And you guys are living down in Papamoa?
Yes.
And Papamoa, that's part of Tauranga?
Yes.
For people who don't know. So, so what are you doing here?
I am a mental health support worker and I'm a youth coordinator.
So what does a mental health support worker do?
Okay, so we basically work with, mental health individuals. We also work with individuals who have physical disabilities.
So do you go around to their houses and go and look after them there, or are you based at the facility? Or
so in some instances where, patients require us to come to their homes, we obviously make those call-outs.
Okay.
But I'm based at the organization, and, we deal with different stakeholders like OTs, dietitians, nutritians, doctors, we work in hospitals as well.
So you're the point of contact, basically, to see if they need a physiotherapist or anything else as well?
Basically, and, just readjusting their support plan, looking at the individual holistically.
Yeah. So how often would you see the same individual?
Well, it depends. It depends on their needs. It depends on, complex needs, if I should say. I usually see my patients about, say, 2 or 3 times in a week.
Okay.
And then your, less complex needs is like maybe once in 2 weeks.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So they learn to know you well. Is that the right word?
Yes.
But then you also do something else.
Yes, so I work with youth.
Okay.
And I think that sparked my love, for students from South Africa.
Okay.
And that's where I kind of like fit in with the youth, and...
So what do you do with the youth?
So we basically deal with with kids or kids who, are in the system or, are finding their way in life.
Yeah.
And, just...
The ones struggling.
Yes, and just redirecting them, to a better life going forward.
And are you having a success with that?
In some instances, yes.
Okay.
We can't get every child to conform or
to
one better.
That's why I was wondering what is the success like.
Yeah, so if I could give you a rough estimate, I think it would be about, 80 to 85% at the moment.
Positive?
Yes, positive.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good.
I think you got to build the relationship, and I think trust is a big thing.
Yep.
And once you've established that trust and connection, you can then, assess, hey, what are you looking for? What do you want to do? Some kids don't even engage at all.
Yep.
And you can't force it. I think that's the big thing.
It is.
You just got to meet them where they are, and take it from there.
Try and work from there onwards.
Exactly.
School system here versus school system in South Africa. Which one do you feel is the easiest or the best?
Sheesh. That's a hard one, eh?
Okay.
But I think they both have strengths in their own capacity.
Okay.
If we look at South Africa, the school system is quite strict. It's quite structured.
Yep.
Everyone is striving for high marks and trying to get into universities because the university criteria is sky high.
Yeah. Totally different than here.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you really, really find students in South Africa going into trade, unless
That's
it's they love it, they love it,
Yeah.
But here there's much more opportunities.
Mm.
I mean, I deal with so many kids who've actually dropped out of school, but they still have a chance to have a success.
Okay.
Yeah.
And being a trade person in New Zealand is not looked down upon. Well, I often got the feeling that if you were a trade person in South Africa, you were looked down on. What's your opinion on that?
I'm actually on the same page with you on that. Okay. I mean, even like let's take certain jobs for example, and I think South Africans feel that there's got to be this status of job opportunities or job roles, and in New Zealand it's not that,
No.
We're all kind of equal. I think the only thing that separates us is responsibilities and the paycheck at the end.
That's right.
But we're all human and we're all just trying to, make a success.
And if you look at the way that tradies are being paid, they paid a good salary.
Definitely.
If you look at the guys that are doing plumbing in South Africa and these guys sometimes struggle a lot just to make ends meet. Well, yeah, it's much better.
100%. I totally agree with you on that.
And I don't feel that, for me, I don't feel the pressure that you felt in South Africa due to the type of job that you do. I don't get that feeling down here.
Yeah.
At all. So
Same. And I think even with students, like if I have to compare my conversations with certain children back in South Africa and here, I get the same feeling as well,
That's right.
And they're like, oh no, in South Africa I've got to be a doctor, a lawyer, X, Y, and Z. But here there's like, oh, I can do this. I'm going to this trade, and make a success of it. So I totally agree with you on that.
So what's your plans? You got big plans for New Zealand?
I do. I want to make a success of my story. I'm also looking at opening my own psychology practice in the future.
Okay.
I want to connect, specialized trauma-informed care, education, and, just culturally diverse, psychology practices.
Yep.
So, yeah.
So if you would go into psychology, is there a specific genre that you would want to do, older people, younger people, or?
Yeah, so I actually love working with all types of age groups. Okay, I think in both my current jobs at the moment, because I'm working with youth and then I'm working with older individuals and your middle-aged
that was
individuals.
what I was thinking.
Yeah.
You this way and that way.
Yes, and I think that's really special. I mean, every individual at every age teaches me something different. So I do want to open my practice to welcome every individual. From the time they're young till they're old. I think there's something to learn from everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see you got the scarf around. It's Ramadan now.
Yes, it is.
You're an active Muslim.
I am an active Muslim.
Okay.
I don't use my scarf daily.
Okay.
But because it's Ramadan, I want to respect my religion.
That's
and,
right.
Yeah, just respect the month.
That is.
Yeah.
And going forward, let's say 5 years from now, where do you want to be?
Wow, this question hits home, eh? I think I want to be in a position where I'm able to help other people.
Okay.
I want to be able to help my family as well, and just make a positive impact with whatever career I'm in. And I think the main thing is to have peace. I think that's actually my goal, especially, coming from South Africa and, navigating through all the challenges. Peace is like my top tier. Yeah.
And coming to New Zealand, the whole immigration process, how did you find that?
Honestly, it was tough at first.
Okay.
Leaving behind family, leaving behind everything that you've ever known.
Oh, yeah.
Coming here and filling fuel for me, wow, I'm going to put my head down on this one because I couldn't do it.
Okay.
I would feel so overwhelmed just doing that, because you're not used to it back in South Africa.
It is. There's always somebody running after you, doing everything for you. So.
And I think that really humbled me, that really humbled me. I was like, okay, I got to get myself up to do this. Every time I go to the gas station, I would just feel stressed and overwhelmed because, like, what am I doing? I mean, I remember the first time I did it, I couldn't even open the nozzle.
Okay.
I was like, sheesh, okay, I should just go back home at this point. But, just the whole immigration process, I think it really humbled me.
That's right.
And it taught me that, life can be unpredictable,
It is.
but you just got to
It
be resilient and persevere. So, yeah.
Any advice for people thinking of coming over?
Honestly, my one advice is that you should never shrink yourself. Your past does not define you, and you are allowed to pivot. You are allowed to rebuild yourself and rise as many times as you want.
And you've got a website that's nearly up and running.
Yes.
What is it all about?
So it is called the Learning Studio. It's about homeschooling, and it's an education hub. It's for parents to connect and just to help individuals, whether they are opting for homeschool or in school at the moment, requiring additional support.
Will that be for any individual, or would it only be specific type of individuals or problem childs? What?
Yeah, so there's no such thing as a problem child, by the way. Just
My mom told me I'm a problem child, so
But yeah, no.
you're breaking the barriers here. Now.
Yes, we are. That's what we're doing, And you see that I think problem child comes from like the past, where educators didn't know how to deal with
kids.
yes,
Yep.
and because it was all about one thing fits all children, which is not the case, right?
Yep.
But my website is actually going to cater to every child, every individual. We're going to be working with various curriculums, from the New Zealand curriculum to the Cambridge to GED, as well as integrating your South African CAPS and IB systems.
Okay.
Yeah.
So your website, will that only be for New Zealand people, or would I from Australia and South Africa, can they all?
Yes, I actually wanted to reach on a global scale.
Yeah.
Obviously small steps, but my intention and my goal is for it to reach a global scale, because I believe that I am able to help individuals from various countries. I helped about 4 individuals outside of South Africa
Okay.
actually achieve their adult matric. So that's my goal.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. That's a big problem. But I don't find that such a big problem down here. The big problem we had in South Africa was literacy. A lot of people were unliterate. Is that the right word? Illiterate.
Yes,
Sorry,
you got it.
Illiterate.
Yeah.
But I find a lot of people here step out of school at a certain age, but then they go and be something else. They will leave school at grade 10, 11 or something like that, and then go into the trades. But they can still read and write, while in South Africa you have a big problem with the read and write, especially on the adults.
That's so true, and I think it actually stems from the foundation level.
Okay.
Back in South Africa, your primary schools, you're sitting with a class of 40 to 45, even 50.
Yep.
And how are you able to track? How is one teacher able to keep track of all of that?
And the other problem is, I spoke to somebody in South Africa the other day, and the amount of money, his wife was a primary or a creche teacher. The amount of money she got, I was just wondering, wow, how can you live with this? There's no incentive money-wise even for them.
Exactly.
To be the best teacher they can be. For that amount of money, I would have just pitched up in the morning and go home tonight. That's all.
But that's exactly what's happening, Jan. Teachers at the moment, from primary school to creche to high school, they are not being paid what they're worth.
It is.
So why would anyone want to come to work to extend themselves when they're not even getting appreciated or paid for their work?
I think one of the most difficult things in the world, there could be more difficult stuff as well, but I think one of the most difficult things in the world is to work with children. I don't want to be a teacher, to be quite frank. There's nothing against the kids.
Yeah.
I don't want to be a teacher. I think it's one of the most difficult things to ever do, because you got a mind there that is wild. Let's call it wild, because the kid is thinking about a ton of other things. And you got to bring this mind into line with certain rules and regulations and learn them certain stuff. Yeah, it's great if you can do it, but I don't think I would ever be able to do that, to be quite frank. So
look, you're right. You are dealing with a mind that's literally racing across 1,000 topics.
It is. And that mind is so fresh. So they're hearing this, they're hearing that. And
yes. And if we look at, the devices that are at hand today.
Oh, that's even worse, right?
Geez, don't even go there. You're dealing with various topics. You're dealing with upbringings. Friends, peer pressure, a whole bunch of things. But the way I see it is that the mind of a child is like a sponge. Okay.
It is.
whatever they're exposed to, they're going to absorb that.
Yep.
And our role as educators is to actually expose them to things that are going to contribute to their, well-being and their development.
Yeah, for making them good members of society.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure you can attest to this. I've also come across individuals and educators who just were negative, who didn't care, you know. And I think that's the hardest part, breaking down the foundations that a negative individual instilled in a child. That's the hardest part.
And sometimes you get a lot of, how can I say, backlash from the parents.
Oh.
That's the other big problem that I saw. And I've heard a lot of my friends talking.
Yeah.
Oh, if that teacher says this, listen, why? Leave the teacher, let them be. They are doing something that's good. But everybody wants to fight the teachers these days because they think they know better.
That is so true.
So I don't know how you can change that criteria. So, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I also don't know how we can change that criteria. You know, I even had a student whose parents wanted to come to our center and actually throw the educator off the balcony. That's their exact words.
Yeah.
And, you know, you're actually just trying to help their child. You know, so I don't understand why parents have this narrative that the teacher is the bad guy.
Yeah. So, sometimes, yeah. But let's say 1% of the time, that could be right.
Yes.
But the other 99% of the time, I think, is that the parent doesn't understand where the kids are, what the kids are going through, and what they're even being taught. I mean, if I have to go back and look at certain subjects that the kids are being taught today, I will also look very stupid, to be quite frank. So, life has just changed so much since I've been in school.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, even for me, life has changed, you know, from the time, I've been in school. I mean, I see it in the curriculums and subjects, you know, and I think that's one of the biggest problems that as parents, that's one of the biggest problems that they face is that the curriculums are changing, times are changing. So parents also have a lot on their shoulders, you know, but I think the most important thing for parents and educators and children is to work collaboratively, you know, got to work holistically, and at the end of the day, we are all contributing to the child's best interest.
So, if the parent doesn't understand what the kids are doing, what should the parent do?
Seek help, you know, actually, first, I would suggest sitting down with them, asking the child, you know, what are you doing? Where do you want to go? Obviously, some of them will be like, hey, look, I just want to go play my PlayStation. I want to get my phone charged, you know. But we got to look deeper, you know. If the child is having challenges at school, let's go to the school. Let's sit together. I think when I was in school, you know, we used to have parent meetings like almost every month. And that was so helpful, you know, because it's just the parent and the teacher.
That's right.
Trying to establish how we can help or how they can help the child.
So the parents understand the whole time where the kids are and what's happening to them and so forth.
Definitely.
I mean, I think with teachers now, and even kids now, we're training young people to do jobs that doesn't even exist yet.
Wow.
Because that's how far this whole new AI revolution is going to go. I mean, somewhere along the line, if you think 10 years ago versus now, the jobs that's popping up these days, 10 years ago didn't even exist.
You're so right about that.
So, I mean, it's a difficult thing because you can't train this guy to be X, Y, and Z because X, Y, and Z doesn't exist yet. But he could probably fill that role in 10 years' time.
Sheesh.
And then, I mean, that's the problem that we're sitting in education these days.
Yeah, that's powerful. And I don't think parents or any of us actually realize that.
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, even myself, when my kids were in school, I used to ask them, what do you want? What do you want to become? I mean, come on, give us the doctor there or the dentist or something. And they all became something, and they've all got good jobs these days.
Yeah.
But at that stage, it wasn't anything that we even thought they would ever become.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's just a difficult phase being a teenager, I think.
It is. Yeah. And I mean, even with myself, I always wanted to be a doctor. That was my goal.
Yep.
I mean, and now when I look back at my life, at 17 years old, I would have never imagined myself being where I am at the moment.
Same to me.
Yeah.
I would have never even thought to have left South Africa.
Yeah. And you know, stories like ours and amongst others, that's quite inspiring. And I think, you know, it's important to get success stories like this out there to inspire others.
It is.
Especially our youth. You know, if I look at some of the youth that I deal with, they're only exposed to negativity, whether it's from families or schools or their peers. and exposing them to positive stories and success stories, you can make it.
Yeah.
You can make it.
The problem is with the youth on their devices. Good stories doesn't sell. They always want to hit them with the bad stories and all the negative. I've been watching TikTok this morning. It's just war the whole time.
Oh, yeah.
And now somebody 17, 16, 12 years old, that's what they're watching.
Yeah.
That's what they're watching. They don't see the good stories and the feel-good stuff. They don't. Unfortunately not. So,
that's the sad part.
yeah.
And I think that the lack of success and positive stories is what feeds negativity.
It is.
And
It is.
but I think wherever we can, I think it's important to just spread positivity and success stories.
And people get a kick out of being negative, unfortunately.
That's true. I think that's the time that we're living in. If you think about it,
It is.
And I think even with me, like dealing with the youth, that's something I really struggle with. Is trying to show them that there are possibilities
Yep.
for the better.
Yep. I always hope that my children do much better in life than I ever did. Because I don't want to be the guy that keeps them back. I want them to do much better than me.
Amazing.
Perhaps they can look after me in my old age. You never know.
Yeah.
All right. Give us that website of yours. What is your website? www.
The Learning Studio, .thelearningstudio.co.nz.
Yeah.
.nz.
NZ.
.nz,
We'll
yes.
put it at the bottom here as well. So
Thank you, Jan.
yeah, it was great meeting you.
Likewise.
Anything else you want to indulge us in?
Well,
'Cause I still got one question for you. But
okay.
Okay.
Let's hear it.
where do you guys buy your curry?
My curry.
Yeah, that's what I need to know.
Well, we can't just go down the road,
No,
to
you
get a body
can't,
chow
so,
or anything like
yeah.
that, but we got to make it at home.
Okay.
So, nothing is better than home cooked meals, but I know about a really cool curry house. I think it's called Rags Cuisine.
Right.
Yeah, it's also based in Tauranga, if I remember. It's quite yummy. I think it's the closest thing to Durban curry that I've
Okay,
tasted in New
okay.
Zealand. But then, you can always come home. Put your orders through.
Just let me know.
Yeah,
Let
put
me
your
know.
orders through.
It's fine. I will pop.
Yeah.
So thanks for your time this morning. It's really good.
Cool. Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
let's see where this goes.
Yeah, thank you for having
Okay.
me.
No, thanks a lot, man.
Really appreciate it.
Okay.